Of course, we're talking to our good friend from Fox Sports, Chris the Bear Fallica. Chris, life and death, and I'll be honest, I was on the other side of your alma mater like it felt like everybody was on Friday. And 55-47, 5.5 minutes to go, no timeouts. I'm walking through the Harry Reid Airport here in Las Vegas with a little skip in my step, feeling like Drake's moving on. And then the game just flipped. And since it really feels like, Chris, that final 5 minutes, it's been a completely different Miami team. They were phenomenal last night against the Hoosiers.
They really were. And that was, you were talking about that game Friday night. Like that kind of went a little under people's radar because it was going on at the same time of FDU's win over Purdue. But yeah, they stole one and they took advantage of it last night. Like I wasn't sure if they would be able to match up with Jackson Davis for Indiana, and they certainly did. It's an interesting game against Houston, though, because the Houston team that we saw in the second half against Auburn, I know Shaun and I were talking in break, but about how Auburn missed all those free throws, but the fact that Houston. They had Sheed and Sasser on the bench with 4 fouls each with about 9-10 minutes to go in the second half, and they pulled away and were dominant. They're just going to rebound the hell out of the ball of Miami, who's a smaller team with those guards. We'll be curious to see if those guards can handle all of that pressure. This has the feel to me of a game that if it's close because of all of the close games and the one-possession games that Miami has been involved in throughout the year, that they have won a majority of them, but found a way to win most of them, that if it's close, they're going to find a way to pull it out. But if Houston does wind up winning, it's probably not going to be that close. And I take exception to that, Shaun, by the way. If you're telling me that a Houston, Texas regional final in Kansas City wouldn't be something going to attend, or I mean, that's a hell of a game if that's what winds up happening there in Kansas City.
Yeah, that probably will draw a little crowd, but something named Xavier is also in that region as well. Nobody knows where that is or what their mascot is.
It's in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Musketeers.
What the heck is a Musketeer?
Look, Chris, it all comes down to this. Shaun was wearing his Duke pullover
I'm a little bitter.
On Friday. He was telling the world that you should take alternate spreads. And you and I, the way that we think, we're on Tennessee, and he's just mad about that 87% of the betting public thought that Duke was on sale, and they lose by double digits. He's just a little bitter.
We'll forgive him for that. And it's funny, you mentioned the Tennessee game, and this is a complete role reversal on what we have coming up this week. But now everybody's patting to Tennessee on the back.
Yep.
They're the highest seed remaining. You're a 5-point favorite. Everybody loves them now. But I mean, there's a lot of history to go on here with Tennessee and Rick Barnes and the higher seeds in this position. I put some notes out today about Barnes and how these. Going back to Texas, 2-11-1 against the number in the last 14 games as a favorite, and 7-7 outright. How you've had these 8-9 teams when they're not facing a 1 seed in the Sweet 16, how they've done very well. I mean, and besides the history, the position that FAU was in last night was a reversal for them. Mm-hmm. They were a massive favorite, expected to win, blowout Cinderella. Everybody in the arena is rooting for FDU, the 15 seed, and they found a way to gut it out and get a win. Now they're back in the position of, Tennessee, the SEC big boy, the bully on the block. We got no shot against them, so we're just going to show up at Madison Square Garden and see what happens. But I like FAU coming this week, getting those points. We'll see. Maybe the loss of Ziegler now against the athletic defense that FAU has, if that kind of hinders Tennessee. Remember, this is a Tennessee team that really struggled down the stretch, and because they roughed up Duke a little bit and got the better of them, I'm not necessarily sold that means Tennessee is the team to beat in this region. But if you're catching 5 with FAU, I think that's kind of the way you got to go right now.
Yeah, much tougher matchup for them. Duke doesn't have great ball handling, evidenced by the 14 turnovers. Didn't shoot the ball well from 3, 27% from behind the line. That's a recipe for disaster. This FAU team is confident. They're more athletic. They have better ball handling. I think they're going to give Tennessee fits.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the other game in that region is one that I really like as well. And I know it seems like everybody is on Michigan State, but I am too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kansas State, it looked like for 36 minutes yesterday, it looked like Kentucky was going to, even though they couldn't hit a three to save their lives, it looked like with Oscar in the middle and all the offensive rebounds, they were going to ugly one out and get by. But finally, Kansas State hit some big shots late and got through. But at the same time, the way Michigan State won that game yesterday, it was almost impossible to be as unlucky as Michigan State was from three-point range with how well they shot the three throughout the year and win that game. Again, Michigan State only a 1.5, 2-point favorite in this game. I think the Spartans are the right side of this game, and I think the Spartans are the right side to get to the Final Four out of this region. So I don't know if this number is going to go up. I would expect it might go up a little bit. So if you like Michigan State like I do, I think it's best to hop on the Spartans now before this might hit 2.5.
Talking to Chris Fallica, our good friend from Fox Sports, Stanford Steve, who will be in town. I believe he, in his bracket, had Michigan State getting out of the East region. So you'll see if that ticket can hold there for him. Real quickly, because I want to get your thoughts on Alabama here momentarily, but I know you were tweeting out, like you do during college football season, Bear, some trends. What are some trends regarding Tom Izzo in this round that you were tweeting out?
No, it's amazing that his team, once you get to the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, this is an ATS, like he's 18-6 in these two rounds. So he typically finds a way. I mean, it's like 75% outright in these rounds where you're facing the best competition that you can. So that just goes to show how good of a coach he is. And how he gets his team to peak. This is not one of his better teams. I mean, they're a 7 seed. And that's one of the things I'm actually going to look up here in a minute is that, I mean, I'm sure this is probably, the third time he potentially could take a team seeded 5th or lower to the Final Four. And I can't imagine that's happened very often. But I just think the way they rebound the ball, the way they defend, without Hoggard in the game, without us in foul trouble yesterday, the poor perimeter shooting from Akins and those guys, you would have to think that that's going to kind of regress to the mean in the Sweet 16 game against Kansas State, and that the Spartans will find their way through.
Bear, Alabama now the favorite to win the championship. Most books around plus 350. They've surpassed Houston. They looked really good. They blew out Maryland, ran away with that game, and similar team and style, San Diego State, they will face on Friday, but better, in my opinion, than Maryland. So do you look at San Diego State, the way they defend, the way they get after you, the way they want to slow it down? We got about a minute. Do you think they can slow this Bama team down? They're catching 7.5 here in this spot.
I do think they potentially can. Look, Alabama has not really played fantastic in their first two games. I mean, the throw out the 116 game, but I mean, they struggled for times against Maryland, and Miller has been kind of spotty. I think San Diego State could potentially ugly this game up, and this might be a little bit more of a game late in the second half than people think. But I do ultimately think Alabama has too much. But it wouldn't surprise me to see San Diego State, who played so well against Furman the other day, keep this one a little bit tighter than expected.
He's the Bear. He's now with Fox Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at Chris Fallica. Good luck. I'll be honest. I don't wish them good luck because I have a Houston future, but good luck to your Miami Canes anyways.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Tim. Thanks, Shaun.
There he is. The Bear.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds. Listen for free. Find showtimes and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.